Dollars on the drop. Will it stop? Your savings shrink while prices pop. Get ready, the downfall won't be a quick hop. Dollar Doomsday, the slow burn of economic energy. Before you picture a financial apocalypse with dollars raining down like confetti, let's break it down in a way that's both clear and engaging. Imagine your dollars as little energy cells, storing up all the economic power you've worked so hard to earn. Just like those AA batteries in your remote, they don't last forever. Over time, that stored energy starts to drain. Why? Because money, like energy, can't escape the forces of nature. Something is always eroding its value. Think of it this way. When you stash cash under your mattress, not that anyone actually does that anymore, it might feel secure, but it's vulnerable to the silent killers, inflation, taxes, and yes, the dreaded printing press. These forces quietly chip away at your dollar's strength, making it worth less over time. It's like leaving milk in the fridge just a bit too long. It might still look okay, but eventually it's going to spoil. Now, why does this matter? Because in just the last few years, your dollars have lost about 25% of their purchasing power. That's right, what used to cost you $100 now takes $125 out of your wallet. It's not just about getting less for your money, it's a clear signal that the economic energy in your dollar is slowly fading. But here's where it gets interesting. While this decline might feel like the end of the world for your savings, some folks out there are spinning it as a positive. They'll say, a weaker dollar is great news for American consumers. But let's be honest, who's buying that? Probably the same people who tell you that getting a flat tire is just an opportunity to learn how to change one. The reality is, Dollar Doomsday is unfolding right before our eyes. Your money is losing value, and prices are creeping up. This isn't just a temporary glitch, it's the start of a significant shift. And what's driving this shift? Hold on tight, because next, we're heading into the heart of the storm, Inflation Nation. A place where prices rise and your purchasing power shrinks faster than you can say, is this really the price? Inflation Nation, where every dollar gets squeezed. In Inflation Nation, your dollars aren't just stretched, they're put through a financial ringer. If you thought Dollar Doomsday was tough, this is where things get really intense. Prices soar while your purchasing power drops like a rock, and suddenly, that morning coffee feels like a splurge. Inflation isn't just an economic buzzword, it's the invisible force shrinking your wallet. The same dollar that once bought you a decent meal now barely covers a snack. Imagine inflation as a slow leak in your financial tire, making it harder to get anywhere without shelling out more money. Your dollar loses value over time, and what cost $1 yesterday might set you back $1.10 today. So, what's driving prices sky high? A combination of factors, from an unprecedented surge in money supply to supply chain disruptions and rising demand. But the real pinch comes when your income stays stagnant while everything else gets more expensive. It's like playing a game where the rules keep changing, but you're stuck with the same weak hand. And it's not just about grocery bills. Inflation sneaks into every corner of the economy. Rent, healthcare, and even the cost of living. Those on fixed incomes like retirees feel the squeeze the most, making Inflation Nation less of a place to live and more of a battlefield. But here's the twist. While most people struggle with rising prices, some actually profit. Debtors, for example, get to pay back their loans with less money that's worth less over time. And savvy investors might see their returns grow as certain assets appreciate with inflation. So, while the majority are left scratching their heads, wondering where their money went, a few are quietly cashing in. But Inflation Nation is just the beginning. Next, we're diving into currency chaos, where global forces tug at your dollar's value, and the rules of the game are in constant flux. Currency chaos, the global tug-of-war. If you thought inflation was a roller coaster, welcome to currency chaos, where things get really unpredictable. Imagine the world's currencies as athletes in an intense tug-of-war, each one vying for dominance, and your dollar is right in the middle of the fray. Currencies don't operate in isolation. They're constantly influenced by global events, decisions by central banks, and geopolitical tensions. When one currency strengthens, another weakens, and the effects ripple across the globe. Right now, the US dollar is facing new challenges as countries reconsider its role as the world's reserve currency. For decades, the dollar has been the heavyweight champion, the go-to currency for international trade. But recently, there's been a shift. Countries are exploring alternatives, seeking to break free from the dollar's dominance. Alliances like BRICS, made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are leading the charge, with more nations like Iran, Malaysia, and Thailand showing interest. This shift isn't just a passing trend, it's a significant move that could weaken the dollar's global standing. When countries move away from the dollar, demand for it falls, and that sends its value into decline. It's like pulling the foundation out from under a skyscraper. Slowly but surely, the structure becomes unstable. But here's the twist. This chaos doesn't just create losers. For some, a weaker dollar opens up golden opportunities. Exporters, for example, can sell their goods abroad at more competitive prices, boosting their profits. Investors holding foreign assets might see their returns skyrocket as other countries strengthen against the dollar. However, the flip side isn't as bright. For the average consumer, this means higher prices on imported goods. Everything from gadgets to gasoline becomes more expensive. Planning a trip abroad? Brace yourself for sticker shock on everything from hotels to souvenirs. Currency chaos is a double-edged sword, cutting both ways depending on where you stand. And as the dollar's dominance is challenged, the effects are felt far and wide. But we're not done yet. Next up is Dollar Windfall, where we'll explore how some players are turning this chaos into cold, hard cash. Dollar Windfall, cashing in on chaos. In the midst of currency chaos, where the dollar's value is on a wild ride, there's a group of sharp individuals and businesses who are turning this turmoil into a dollar windfall. While most of us are trying to figure out why everything suddenly costs more, these players are cashing in big time. Here's the scoop. When the dollar weakens, certain opportunities start to appear. Imagine holding stocks or assets priced in foreign currencies. When the dollar drops, those assets suddenly become worth a lot more in US dollars. It's like winning the lottery just because the exchange rate shifted in your favor. Take exporters, for example. When the dollar is weak, US products become cheaper and more attractive to international buyers. This can lead to a surge in sales, filling the coffers of companies that know how to play the game. They're selling the same goods, but now they're reaping more rewards simply because the dollar's value dipped. Then there are the investors who keep a close eye on commodities like gold or Bitcoin. Historically, when the dollar falters, the value of these assets tends to climb. Why? Because when confidence in traditional currency wavers, people flock to assets that seem more stable or profitable. It's a classic hedge against the chaos of currency fluctuations. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. While some are riding the wave to bigger profits, others are left struggling. Importers, for example, face higher costs as the dollar weakens, which they often pass on to consumers. So, while one group celebrates their dollar windfall, the rest of us might be paying the price. Literally. And let's not forget, this windfall isn't guaranteed to last. Currency values are fickle, and what goes up can just as easily come crashing down. But for now, those in the know are making the most of it, capitalizing on every dip and dive of the dollar. But hold on, before you start dreaming of your own windfall, there's a catch. In the grand scheme of things, this kind of profit-making often comes with a trade-off. As the dollar weakens, pressure builds elsewhere in the economy. Up next, we're taking a hard look at how attempts to control this chaos often backfire in price control fail, where well-intentioned fixes create even bigger problems. Price control fail, when good intentions go bad. When the economic waters get choppy, it's tempting for governments to step in and try to steady the ship. Enter price control fail, the classic story of how attempts to manage chaos often makes things worse. Price controls sound like a good idea on the surface. The logic is simple. If prices are rising too fast, just cap them, and problem solved. Except in reality, it's more like putting a band-aid on a broken bone. Sure, it might cover the problem temporarily, but it doesn't fix the underlying issues, and pretty soon, you're dealing with a much bigger mess. Let's take a trip back in time. In the 1970s, the US government tried to combat runaway inflation by freezing prices and wages across the board. For 90 days, prices were locked in place, and wages couldn't budge. But what happened? The very thing they were trying to prevent. Shortages, long lines, and a black market that sprang up almost overnight. Here's the thing. When prices are artificially kept low, producers lose the incentive to supply goods. Why sell something for less than it's worth? So, they make less of it, leading to scarcity. And when something becomes scarce, human nature kicks in. People start hoarding. And before you know it, what was supposed to be a solution turns into a bigger problem. The same goes for rent control, another well-meaning but often disastrous policy. Capping rent sounds great for tenants, but it discourages landlords from maintaining and improving properties or from building new ones. The result? A housing market that can't keep up with demand, and those affordable apartments? Good luck finding one. And it's not just a problem of the past. Every time the idea of price control comes up, history reminds us, price control fail is almost inevitable. It's like trying to hold your water in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. But why do governments keep turning to this strategy? Because on the surface, it looks like a quick fix, a way to keep the public happy in the short term. But the long-term consequences, not so much. As we've seen, the ripple effects of a weak dollar, inflation, and misguided interventions can create a perfect storm in the economy. But there's one more piece of this puzzle to explore: the jobs market. As the dollar weakens and prices rise, what happens to employment? Stick around as we dive into Jobs Mirage, where we uncover the illusion of job growth in a shaky economy. Jobs Mirage, the illusion of employment growth. Amid the economic turbulence, one thing hailed as a sign of stability is job growth. But in Jobs Mirage, we're going to peel back the layers and reveal that not everything is as promising as it seems. Here's the catch. When you hear about new jobs being added to the economy, it's easy to assume that things are looking up. More jobs should mean more stability, more spending, and a stronger economy, right? But what if those numbers are just smoke and mirrors, hiding deeper problems? Recently, we've seen reports of job growth that seem encouraging on the surface. But dig a little deeper and you'll find that the reality is far less reassuring. Revisions from the Labor Department have shown that the actual number of jobs added is often much lower than initially reported. In fact, the US economy created nearly 1 million fewer jobs than what was originally claimed over the last year, a staggering revision that reveals just how fragile the situation really is. So what's going on here? Part of the problem is that job creation can be misleading. Sure, there might be more positions available, but what kind of jobs are they? Are they high-quality, well-paying roles that offer long-term stability, or are they low-wage, part-time gigs with no benefits? The latter can inflate job numbers without actually improving the economic well-being of the workforce. Then there's the issue of underemployment. Just because someone doesn't have a job doesn't mean they're fully employed. Many people are stuck in positions that don't utilize their skills or offer enough hours to make ends meet. It's like seeing an oasis in the desert only to find out it's just a mirage, something that looks promising from a distance but disappears when you get close. And let's not forget the role of a weakening economy in this picture. As the dollar loses value and inflation rises, businesses face increasing pressure. Higher costs can lead to layoffs, hiring freezes, or the creation of only low-paying jobs. The result? A job market that looks healthier on paper than it really is. But why does this illusion persist? Because in an election year, good job numbers are political gold. They're used to reassure the public that things are under control, even when the underlying data tells a different story. But as the truth comes out, the jobs mirage fades, revealing the cracks in the foundation of the economy. So, what's the takeaway? While job numbers can be a useful indicator, they're not the whole story. It's important to look beyond the headlines and understand what's really happening in the economy. As we've seen throughout this exploration of the dollar's decline, the forces at play are complex and interconnected. And as always, staying informed and prepared is the best way to navigate the uncertain waters ahead.